Do you know how they say that your real self only comes out when you're pretty much almost dead drunk or something? Because this seems to be the case for Rhea and Alec, as after their romantic dinner date together, they start opening up to one another and share their deepest and darkest secrets. AKA, Alec misses his wife and son, while Rhea still feels terrible for the way she treated Connor. Pretty dark stuff, I know. They actually sounded like decent people here. It's a shame they're actually honest only when they're drunk. They should drink more often. I'm pretty positive Rhea was indeed telling the truth, but I'm not too sure about Alec. Perhaps it was just alcohol talking there, because are you telling me that he suddenly terribly misses his son right now? The kid he never gave a damn about his entire life? That just didn't sound right. I suppose he could be genuinely upset here. In a way, I do feel sorry for him. It sucks to hear he lost his passion for reading and, his job too, but it just doesn't feel right to side with him. His ex-wife may be the villain in his eyes from, his perspective, but she's not the bad parent. All this introspection finally brought Alec to kiss Rhea, and that was surprising. I did not expect a kiss there. When in my episode 10 review I mentioned that it would have been interesting to see those two end up together, I wasn't serious, I was just speculating, but I mean at this point, yes, I actually actively want them to. It's just a shame that Rhea pushed Alec away though. She even seemed into it for just a few seconds. Perhaps she does have a thing for him. She just doesn't want to admit it. Because Aiden saw the whole thing, he initially didn't want to tell Connor because he didn't want to hurt him, but later he just changed his mind and couldn't wait to tell him. But I don't really get why. It's like he was hoping that Connor knowing about this kiss would in some way hurt or break up the villains alliance, but how? How is him knowing gonna turn Alec and Rhea against one another or Gret and Gabby against them? I still don't get it. I have no idea what they have in mind for the next episode, but that's actually pretty good news. I do like surprises. Then we're not talking about the intern drama too much in detail today because as always, nothing's happening there and the story's moving at a snail's pace. All I'm gonna say is, Crystal, girl, go for it. Have fun with Derek. It seems like both of you want to keep it casual, so you should just be happy there. And then Marcus, dude, it's creepy as hell when you talk about yourself and Nina as if you were the same entity. It's just creepy. It feels like he and Nina share the same brain, which would be cool. It would be a cool reveal. Seeing Marcus defend Crystal and Nina saying, "Oh, Marcus cares about everyone, that for some reason just broke me. Is he that kind of soul and I never noticed? I actually feel bad for never noticing how good of a person he is. I really wish Marcus and Nina actually had a story of their own. It would be so cool. Even in season 2, they didn't do anything. They are kinda wasted." We then move on to the challenge, which I admit I absolutely loved. It has just the most amazing concept. This is easily my favorite one so far. Especially, I really like the idea of giving each camper a different superpower. Imagine how lame it would have been if they all had the same abilities. Instead, this was pretty much like Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Teen Titans crossed with an epic Pokemon battle of some sort. It was so beautiful. This, of course, doesn't really mean it was perfect. The animation, for instance, could have been a whole lot better, like when Connor lifted up that tree, or when Gret and Yol used their superpowers on the monster, because look at this just feels wrong, but I absolutely do respect them for trying. I'd rather watch an intense challenge with imperfect animation rather than a dull one with smooth and flawless movements, so I wouldn't complain about that. They could have used better sound effects though, better and louder, because those make a big difference in my opinion. For instance, think of when Yol was electrifying Gabby. It would have really helped if there was a much fuller and louder sound there. Instead, it sounded like someone was plugging in a lamp. I also would have liked to hear the other campers just scream and yell a little bit more, especially when they were about to die. It would have made things more realistic. I was pretty glad they brought back the VR simulators. The VR world itself actually had its charm. I really loved the ambiance. All those different backgrounds with the banana trees everywhere, the volcano and the orange sky, it didn't feel like Camp Tipiskau, so even visually the episode felt pretty unique. And talking about the costumes, I admit I didn't really love them. Some grew on me, like Yul's or Rhea's, but like Gabby, Gret, or Jake with that thing on his chin, they just didn't look that great, honestly. It was still cool to see them wear something different for once, but thank God it's just for this one episode. You guys know that I do love it when a challenge has multiple portions to it because it just adds more variety, so I was so happy to see these 2 different portions. The first one, which was some sort of tutorial, and then the boss battle in the end. Even though the final battle wasn't too scary because just the dinosaur monster didn't seem too threatening, and the fact that he was named Ned made him even less scary, but it was better to have this final boss rather than having the campers keep fighting one another until only one is left. I do wish though that Ali and Connor did more during the first half of the challenge, whereas Aiden and Jake did more during the second. Today as well, Jake was a pretty decent person. That's already 2 episodes in a row. He's on a roll. Seeing him get along with Aiden was actually a breath of fresh air, and in general, seeing the heroes get along, that finally makes them enjoyable to watch, at last. I didn't care for all those fights. Alec having no powers at all was actually hilarious. I so love to see him in his regular outfit while everybody else had these crazy superhero costumes. And I do respect him so much for still putting up a fight despite not having any quirks, as he calls them. And his death scene, it was just the best. I love how his arms remained attached to the rock till the very end, and how the whole thing was just left there floating in the air for a few seconds. That was so beautiful. Ria's defeat too felt pretty epic. She was killed off in a pretty unexpected way, and in general, she felt like a huge threat for Skunkhair and Twinkie Winkie. That fight was handled so well. During the boss fight, we finally get to the long-awaited Gruel breakup. And honestly, the breakup was actually executed pretty well, I guess. I'm actually rather grateful that Gret actually realized how much of a dick Yul was all by herself, because it wouldn't have felt the same, for instance, had Gabby opened her eyes. So it was pretty cool how Gabby was just there to support her and trying to help her fix her relationship. It just feels right to have her come to this realization by herself and ultimately break up with him. I especially like how they made Gret endure all of Yul's abuse up until the very end, and how she would always eventually passively accept it, but the moment the guy started hurting someone else Gret actually cared about, she couldn't take it anymore and gathered all the courage and the confidence she needed to break things off with him. That was very well done, and seeing Yul begging Gret to take him back at the very end of the episode, that was just the cherry on top. Still, I don't love just how long it took them to get here. They should have built up to it way more than this. It was all too sudden. They should have used some of the previous 12 episodes to, I don't know, explore the situation from Gret's point of view much more in detail. I can assure you they did have the time for it. The pacing this season is just so weird. At the campfire ceremony, the heroes, along with Gabby and Gret, all decide to vote for Yul, so in a 3-6 vote, Yul bites the dust. Which was just a tiny little bit extremely predictable. I guess in retrospect, it would have been nice to see Gret talk to the heroes and convince them to vote out Yul, which would have been super easy to do and might have made the elimination even more predictable, but at least it would have made Gret actively involved in it. So I guess my prediction about Yul getting the boot was right, but again, I don't like to be right, I like to be surprised. And at the same time, I mean, it would have been interesting to see Yul just stick around for even just one more episode and see him and Gret try to take each other down the entire time. Then Yul's heartfelt goodbye was much appreciated too. It was a pretty great send-off for his character, and although most of his insults were pretty good, the Connor one was pretty weak and uninspired. You're old. Wow. Cutting deep, man. You told him much worse things in the past. It was also interesting how Yul said he will personally make sure Gret will not win the $3 million prize, because this could be hinting at Gret actually making it to the finale and Yul trying to do anything in his power to make her lose, just like Carol did with James in season 2. I admit I wouldn't hate to see Gret win the season, although I'm not quite sure she would deserve it. To be fair though, I'm not sure anyone left in the cast actually does, but she is a better option compared to Aiden, Jake or Rhea, or perhaps even Ali. I'm not too fond of Ali for the moment. One last cool detail is that in a final confessional, Gret finally realized just how badly she treated Gabby, and as I told you, that's something she really needed to realize and something I really wanted to hear, but I would still like her to apologize to Gabby's face though. It would just be appropriate. And it would be cool if Gret now tried to help Gabby through her problems, because she's got several. Overall, I really liked the episode, although of course, the fights could have been animated better, they could have used better sound effects, and the resolution of the whole Gruul storyline, in my opinion, was way too rushed. But if you think about it, this last one isn't really the episode's fault. Episode 13 itself did tell a pretty cool story at the end of the day, it's just a shame they haven't built up to it before. I still really enjoyed it though, and I hope the next few episodes will keep up this better storytelling. I don't know if this is just me, but I'm enjoying the second half of the season way more than the first one. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this. Do share your thoughts on the episode as well, and on our buddy Yul, the narcissistic, misogynistic pig, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, ciao!